everybody. Welcome to TalentED. And today we are very fortunate to have Ms. Rita Wirtz, an inspirational leader focused on that kid at the back, a reading champion, and learning development, innovative content creation, social media influencer, author, blogger, keynote speaker, and just an all-around exceptional educator with a wealth of experience ranging from program evaluator to curriculum coordinator, principal, more. So she is a sought-after keynote speaker, seminar leader. She's inspired educators nationwide, and I want you to get ready to be inspired by Rita Wirtz. We've had some great conversations already about reading and the incredible journey around reading and making a difference in kids' lives. So Rita, I'm going to turn it over to you. And why don't you just give us a quick background of who you are, what you believe, what's your passion?
My passion is being here right now with you because we are in a defining moment in our country and in our world. I applaud all of the leaders who are listening right now, and we're all leaders. We're all leaders. I'll say that one more time for the trifecta. We are all leaders. And it is our responsibility right now to help make a better, more loving world. And how we can do that is what we do in our schools. Now, I'm going to admit to you that it's very concerning when I see people who don't understand what happens in public school because they don't remember anything except when they were in school. So I'll say this, in my situation at this point in my life, I'm very proud of my age actually and my stage because I believe that we need people at all ends of the spectrum. And what I represent is, I don't want to say how many years or how old I am, but I have been at this a very, very long time. I started to get interested in reading because my mother was an avid reader, and we know the importance of modeling reading. So when I was a little one at night, I used to come out and sit with her while we did crossword puzzles. She was
great
watching,
routine,
and she was reading. And when she decided to volunteer to help adult non-readers, I said, "Can I go with you?" Now, this was unusual for a 13-year-old to want to do something like that. But my mom said, come on, I think you'll get a good idea of what these people are going through learning to read at this age. I said, I didn't know anybody could be an adult and not know how to read, Mom. I got my read pen on. It's gone all over the world. But the bottom line is I went and I was done. That was it. So along the way, before I was actually in school to study reading and to be a teacher, I did work with Lawback Literacy and Literacy Volunteers of America, neighborhood study centers, everything that I could do that was literacy. And then I had a couple of years of teaching under my belt, started as a high school English speech and drama teacher. And that was really cool, except the kids couldn't read. So I'm like, something's not right here. So I decided to start my master's in reading, and the rest, shall we say, is history. I've been honored to serve as a program evaluator for the states of Arizona and California in the penal population, where I taught, and at that time it was trained, I was a trainer, and we taught teachers how to teach inmates how to read. So the hope was that these under 21-year-old inmates who were in the Title I program, that hopefully they wouldn't become recidivists. So that was pretty earth-shaking doing that for a number of years. And along the way, at that point, I had also worked for the Sacramento County Office of Education as a curriculum director. And I'm not sure whether I'm all pleased to say this or not, but I did work on Bill Honig's model curriculum standards at the time, the beginning of what did end up Common Core. So I was in on the ground from that, and I did the English parts of the process. So right away, I was very interested in why kids weren't reading. And we've been fighting over how to teach reading for over 100 years. So then I just kept notching it up a little at a time. After being a school principal where reading was our everything, and we did turn the school around and got the grades. You won't hear me saying I or me, it's about we in our school. And so we stopped with vertical top-down leadership. We went to horizontal. And again, the rest was history. It became an absolutely extraordinary school population, and the kids were reading. So I kept moving along in my career, thinking about that, what's next. And I did become a founder, and I started a business after my principalship called Paradigms, of course, and Promises. out of Sacramento, California. And I was very blessed to travel the United States, district to district, school to school. 1 week would be my own personal week. And that would mean generally I started with a keynote for the entire school district. And then I went into the classrooms with teachers teaching with me and following me around. And as I went from class to class, I was writing notes all over on napkins and pieces of paper. I get back to the hotel or the principal's house if I was staying with the principal and start putting it all down. And that became one of my books. So what I saw during the period of my house calls was that it really was the same all over the country. When I would flip from a classroom to doing a seminar in Michigan and then a seminar the next day in Wisconsin or wherever I was going, it was the same everywhere. The teachers understood that they needed to know how to do skills. It's never been about programs. Programs come and go. Skills remain the same. A blend is a blend is a blend. A diagram is a diagram is a diagram. So I've been teaching phonics for over 50 years. I've been enormously successful with children, not because I'm that good or all that. It's just that I dig in and I figure out where they need to go. And the kid at the back has always been my favorite kid because generally speaking, the worse their behavior and when they're begging us to pay attention, these children generally have been extremely gifted, but they haven't had the opportunity to have that discovered. So we called that the kid at the back. And one of the students that I worked with for a couple of years on our time after school and weekends, he ended up going from being retained and in a class for non-English speakers, which he was. And by golly, he graduated from UC with honors and he became a rocket scientist for SpaceX. And I knew that I had something special that I could do, but it's never been about me. I'm really humble about it. So when I look back for our first thing about who I am and what I've done, I would have to say, what haven't I done? Now, I'm not going to approach you telling you guys that I'm a tech specialist. That's not my specialty. What my specialty is the field of reading. And it matters not to me whether we're talking balanced literacy, science of reading, whatever. I have the National Reading Panel report in hard copy sitting here. And for all these years, it's always been the same. We have to teach them the sounds, the letters. We do phonics, we do vocabulary, we do spelling, we do comprehension. And more than that, we read for two reasons. We read one for meaning and learning from infotext, and we read for pleasure. So in the past months, I've been co-hosting a LinkedIn Live show that's been quite extraordinary. A great learning experience for me doing this. But along the way, the reading kept coming back, and I was still blogging about what was going on. I was doing webinars this summer. And the one that stuck is called Read for Fun.
There we go.
Because when we're talking about what's next, state people, the what's next has to be that now that the teachers understand the skills that they have to teach, more than even a program, but yes, I understand the fidelity of the program, but there's more. And the Read for Fun piece tells us that when kids, and I went from 50 percentile, whatever, of kids that were reading, and then it went to 42% of 9-year-olds reading for fun. When it gets to 13 years old, there were only 13% of children reading for fun. Now, I still believe in that Just Right book. So when I hear and see that children haven't found that just right book, then let's get a graphic novel going. But this is where I am right now. We are working toward a possibility of a reading initiative focusing on pleasure reading. So everything we're doing with the skills is vitally important, but we also want to see kids reading for fun. One other piece, as I bring this huge amount of stuff that I've been fortunate to do all these years. The other piece of the pie that we want to remember is that when a teacher commits to teach a child, it really is the whole child. And so I'm away from words like struggling reader or, these kids are all the
at risk.
They're all at risk. We can't teach them well. We read Nation at Risk and A Nation of Readers in '85. I've read all of it. and we've lived it. I lived through restructuring, and we restructured like crazy, tossed everything out of school and started again. But right now, I see the children as scholars in waiting or at promise readers. They're not struggling readers.
I
And
love those.
yeah, I
I
also
love it.
don't believe in failing forward. I think there's way too much emphasis out there on teaching kids how to fail. I'm sorry, I believe there's no failure, only feedback.
hmm
There's a lot of things I don't know.
Rita, I'm thinking about I'm thinking about your push for fun, right?
Oh,
Something that everybody understands in this country is sports,
yes,
sports teams. What if
yes,
we had our kids and all they got to do was go to practice each and every day?
yes,
Practice the drills, practice the skills,
that's
practice
right.
runs, practice the plays, but they never get to go play the game.
Just like the kids saying, well, now I've outlined it, I did this with it.
Yeah.
Can I read it now?
We build all that background information. We build all that background information so that they know how to play the game.
That's right.
We practice the skills, we practice all that so they know how to play the game and how to play
Right.
it well. Why don't we talk about reading the same way?
No clue.
That's the end game, right? Is to have fun reading. And yes, we also read to learn,
Yes.
but we get better by reading for fun.
Oh,
So, I
yeah.
mean, let's open up the black box. Just a couple of questions for you, Rita.
Sure.
Do you have any key strategies or approaches that you recommend for helping children become capable and confident readers?
Yes, I know you've seen me use those words. I believe that it's our obligation to ensure that all children become capable, confident readers, but I've
Mhm.
added a caveat, who love to read.
Who love to read.
That's been missing everywhere. So I've been putting it out there. Well, the bottom line is when we teach children pre-reading skills, KWL, but I've expanded it to KWLW, another column and another one. What do we want to know? What do I already know?
Mhm.
What do I want to know? Where am I going to find it? And how am I going to get it? When we do pre-reading and go back and build schema or prior knowledge, so they've got something to hook it onto, then it behooves us to make sure our lesson design has more than one modality.
Mhm.
Another thing that's happened while we talk about that is that all of a sudden, or not all of a sudden, we decided that multiple intelligence, there really wasn't such a thing, and learning styles don't matter. There's not such a thing, but that's not true. So we have to have tools in the tool belt, and we have to have a repertoire that's far reaching enough that for any particular child, and ideally every child would have an
Mhm.
IEP, every child would belong to all teachers in the school. Because the next piece we're talking about is how do you do cross-content reading? How do you teach reading in the disciplines? So while we're focusing on pre through 3, and that would be more phonemic awareness and phonics and learning to build words and
Mhm.
unlock, decode words. But the next piece has to be using what we've learned in upper grade levels in high school, certainly in high school, and also the cross-content piece of it. So if we're looking at how are we going to get it better, the basic skills that the teachers have been trained on now, that's fabulous. Stay with that. But then for the what's next, I would work with rate building, the mechanics of reading
Mhm.
and coding, the visual perceptual skills, how to pick up the pace through pre and post reading strategies, and actually some speed skills, not speed reading per se. The bottom line is when they first learn to read, and then we say then they read to learn. We learn to read. We read to learn, and then we read to get better and faster, because that will boost our comprehension. And if we have kids that are just word callers, or they read a piece and then they regress, they read and then regress, we have to know also some brain gym activities
Mhm.
and other activities through movement and through other modalities, so that we ensure that there is a level playing field. Not all kids learn best through hearing. We know that some of them are like me and they have to feel their way through or experience it. So we have to have a lot of strategies. And that's what my work is. It's about how to do fun strategies. And that may include singing, dancing, moving, chanting, using
Mhm.
our hands to express. If we're teaching spelling, I'll teach NLP spelling, how we see the word and remember the word. So there's just a whole bunch of stuff. I look at myself as the teachers in your state have got the basic stregonona soup pot with the ingredients in there, and then I'm kind of like the frosting on the top of the cake. And then also looking whether we're talking a keynote or some seminar, some chat time with the teachers, but we're looking at the kids that we're missing in particular and how we're going to reach that kid at the back. And there may be some dyslexia there, or it may be that we need to teach it differently.
Well, and everybody, here's what I love about Rita. Rita, you can hear her expertise come through. So there is definitely the science of reading. But what I love about Rita is she also does not forget about the science of the love of reading, right? So it's both of those. It's both of those going forward. And when Rita's right, when we talk about what's next and what's next in Minnesota or beyond, we have to get back to the spot where kids think about books the way they think about a Nintendo Switch, or it has to be that engaging. And I promise you, books are that engaging.
Yes.
We have such a plethora of just phenomenal authors happening right now, who have great books. And I mean, I love classics. Everybody loves the classics, but do not be afraid to pick up some new literature and find out what's out there, because the kids want to see that. The kids want to see you reading that. So, right. That's what we're doing here, Rita.
Oh, we're right on. I know we're just having this conversation. I just want to give everybody everything in 1 second. But, we have to step back for a minute also, Eric, and take a big look at all the things that are going on around us. And then we need to refocus a little more narrowly and say, this is what we're doing now. Are our kids reading? If a child doesn't want to pick up a book, then there's an issue right here.
I'm going to drop just another quick stat, because I know that we have talked about this one before.
Yes.
We have an empathy problem in this country.
Yes.
And I want everybody to know, I'm not going to have the quote behind me perfectly, but I know from research says that the number one way to build empathy and the skills of empathy in kids is to let them read, because they get into the characters' thoughts, feelings through those first person novels, and they can feel what another person is feeling, which is empathy. So that's how we build skills of empathy. We got to get kids reading. We got to get them into characters' heads so they can feel and experience different feelings and settings and situations, so they become a better human. That's what we want in the end. Fun reading, better humans.
Oh, there's no doubt. And I'm not going to talk about the book ban situation here. I am a blogger by heart and trade, and I've written so many blogs about what you're talking about. Every child a reader, every child a great reader. That's the bottom line. There's no reason why we can't get all of our kids to excel in the skills themselves. But what we're looking at is the transfer. Are those skills transferring into everyday life, so that they understand that there's different kinds of print in the world to begin with? So we could be doing something simple with environmental print, what we see around us, and this has never changed, print-rich environment. Then we have print that is what we see when we go to the grocery store. It's still part of environmental, but the bottom line is there's all kind of prints surrounding us. And we have to know that even if we put a poster with some something, an anchor chart kind of thing I'm thinking about, it has to be at or above eye level, or they don't see it anyway. So if I know that's a little piece, if I know that I need to hold up my book and I can read it faster, by doing that, I can see more. Well, that's a simple thing. All these little teeny tiny things make a huge difference. And when children see us do read alouds, which are vitally important at home and school, they watch our eyes track. They watch how we hold the book, how we take care of a book. They learn to love books. They're more than that, though. They're associating book with closeness, with love. And so children
set up that routine at home, right? Set up that bedtime routine. If you can do anything for your kids, that's a great transitional activity to signal we're calm, we're close, we're together, and now we go to bed. right? So if
Mhm.
any of those parents out there that might be struggling with bedtime, put in a bedtime reading routine every night and put the screens away
That's right. That's
and pick
right.
up the books.
I call
Um,
it family time reading, Eric. Family time.
Rita, if you were working with a school or a district, just give me a 30-second, like what would they expect to get from you?
Well, it depends what you ask me to do and what the needs are. Having been a program evaluator, I do look at data, of
Mm-hmm.
course.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm most interested in is how well the teachers are working together. Are they working vertically? Are they working with grade levels up and below? Are they working just horizontal? Do we have cross-age programs going on? Are they doing reading and content, reading cross-discipline? So from third up, I really need to see that happening.
Yeah.
So again, it would depend what I'm asked to do. If we're talking about just seminar kind of work where people come in, then it's always my honor and privilege to do what teachers may have seen, but it's almost a dying art, let's put it like that. And that's about what I call phonics origami, and the fact that we can take scrap paper and do folds
Mm-hmm.
and create magic-y things, and we can do digraph games and blend games. And
It's about making learning engaging, right?
yeah,
And how do we do it? How do we do it?
it doesn't take away from fidelity, in my opinion, because we're just adding that frosting on the
Mm-hmm.
basic skills and engaging those children who were not engaging. We have a big issue that there are a lot of kids not in school at all. We have a big issue that the kids who are in school, many of them are disengaged. So the question mark is not about time on task, which is low level. It's about how are we going to inspire and encourage
Mm-hmm.
them to want to re-engage with the school to begin with, and then how do we get them to flow state.
Mm-hmm.
I know this is kind of weird, but among my among my degrees, I studied NLP for a year and hypnosis. I'm certified in both, and so we know that words really matter, and
Mm-hmm.
that's why if nothing else, I'm asking everybody, please stop calling kids struggling readers,
There you go.
and please let's stop talking about learning loss, and let's just talk about where we're going and how we're going to get there.
Awesome.
So that's where that is.
Rita, I'm going to switch gears on us real quick
Okay.
to kind of a lightning round.
Oh boy.
Are you ready for a lightning round?
Should I go get my password game?
Might have to.
Okay.
So quick answers, lightning round. What book had the biggest impact on your love for reading?
Island of the Blue Dolphins, 4th grade reading.
I got that one on the shelf at home. I love it. Who's your favorite literary character?
My favorite literary character. How could I give one
I
favorite?
know it's a
Matilda.
what is your go-to genre when choosing a book?
Well, it depends. The child needs to select, self-selection, and not by graded levels. If a child picks a book and I do a 5-finger, put your finger down. If we hit 5 fingers on page, it might be too challenging. But the bottom line is, if a child wants to read a book, then I'm going to scaffold it to make sure the child has access to what the child wants to read. It should be voice and choice.
What is your preferred setting? Silence or background noise while reading a book?
This depends also. Baroque music matches the heartbeat. If I want to calm kids down, I'll put on Baroque. If I want to rev them up, I'll put on stuff that they like to listen to.
Go. Do you have
Some children like it quiet. Some children want noise.
Do you have a favorite all-time book quote?
Whoa.
I know that one's not as easy to just pull.
Oh, Jane Goodall. Recently, I've been reading a book of hope on my Kindle.
Okay.
And I like that she said that everybody's making a difference, but you have to decide what kind of a difference you want to make. And I like Meryl Streep's comment recently that said, don't stop being a weirdo. And so I would want everybody to know that I'm definitely a weirdo and a geek. I'm very well studied. And for many years, I was an adjunct professor for 3 California universities, teaching all credential reading courses for 2 of them. And then Sac State, I was in the bilingual cohort for a number of years, teaching leadership courses in school administration. So that being said, that kind of answers that, I think.
Hardcover, paperback, or ebook?
Well, actually, I never wanted to use a Kindle because I didn't want another screen, but I love my Kindle. It's
Oh,
loaded
good.
up with books, and I tend to do syntopic reading, SYN, meaning same topic reading. I read a lot of documentary kind of stuff, nonfiction, and a lot of historical fiction. If I want just pure escapism, then I'll read something chicky kind of thing. But
All right.
mostly I study a lot.
Last question is not even about literacy. It is,
Uh-oh.
what is your walk-up song? If you are going to be coming to stage,
Got it. Got that one.
what is it?
Okay. Ding, Rocky. And
Mm.
it's the part that goes, and I would hear this. Well, first of all, when I decided I was going to really become a keynote speaker before I started doing mentor teachers and everybody that there was to do, I would study famous people who were great speakers and religious leaders,
Mhm.
and I'd watch everything and I'd listen. And when everything came to pass that I worked on it and mastered the craft a bit, I would hear the Rocky piece that went dun da dun da da dun da da da, and then da 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 da. And I'm very anchored, and so I had it at that point. I would just have to tap my hand, and I was ready to go.
There we go. Well, everybody, that is Rita. And just a recap of what we heard today. Get kids reading. Reading is so important. And the science of reading for fun, right, Rita?
Yes, and we're not forgetting writing either, by the way.
And writing,
Yeah,
for sure.
writing is right in there, of course. Everything is just beautiful. We're in a beautiful world. I call this time challenging times, extraordinary opportunities.
There we go.
Because we have the opportunity to stay in the box with what we know to be true or what we believe to be true. But we also need to really stretch right now because we're being watched in a way that would tend to make us uncomfortable if we're not secure in ourselves, that we know what we are doing and we will be with one another, shoulder to shoulder, helping one another. And I'll say this, I do know a lot about the teaching of reading, but there's a lot of things I don't know, and I'm the first one to ask for help. And I think we need to open our doors again and have teachers have the capability to be looping kids, to be team teaching, to co-teach, and everything we thought we might want to try, this is the time to do it. Not try, Yoda said do. And that's where I am. Let's act. Let's make something else happen right now. This is a perfect time. The only way is up.
There we go. There's your call to action, everybody. And I want to thank Rita for taking some time out of her very busy day to talk with me today. And I want to thank all of you for tuning in to this episode of TalentED. And if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, leave us a review. If you have any suggestions for future topics, guests, please contact us. But until next time, keep reading, keep learning, keep growing, and stay PKS, which is positive, kind, and supportive, everybody. Goodbye.
Bye-bye, everybody. See you soon.